Late at night in Paris, Driss drives Philippe through the city. Tired of waiting in traffic, Driss speeds through the streets, ignoring traffic signals and weaving between cars. The police begin chasing him. Confident, Driss bets Philippe €100 that he can lose them. He drives under a bridge but is quickly blocked by police from both directions. Still unfazed, Driss raises the bet to €200 and claims he can get a police escort. He gets out of the car and pretends that Philippe, who is quadriplegic, is having a medical emergency. The officers check the trunk and find the wheelchair. When they approach Philippe, he fakes a seizure. Believing it's urgent, the police drop the charges and offer an escort to the hospital. After the escort, Driss celebrates by playing September by Earth, Wind and Fire. Once the police leave, Driss and Philippe share a cigarette outside. Before the hospital staff can approach, Driss drives off, assuring Philippe that he has things under control. This unlikely friendship began months earlier. Philippe and his assistant Magali were interviewing candidates for a caregiver position. Most of the applicants gave dull or rehearsed answers. Then Driss walked in out of turn, not to apply, but to get a signature proving he was rejected so he could collect unemployment benefits. His bluntness and playful attitude, including flirting with Magali, caught Philippe's attention. Instead of turning him away, Philippe asked him to return the next day for the signed form. Driss returns to his modest home where he tries to take a bath but is constantly interrupted by his younger siblings. His older sister Mina helps manage the chaos so he can finish. While waiting for their mother to come home, Driss sees his younger brother Adama getting out of a suspicious car. When Adama enters the apartment, he claims he was at school and quickly leaves again, making Driss more suspicious of his activities. Later that evening, their mother arrives. Driss gives her a stolen Fabergé egg and claims he's been on vacation. She's not pleased to see him. He's been gone for 6 months without any contact, and she's frustrated by his sudden reappearance. With other children to care for, she tells him to leave and not come back. Driss spends the night outside, sharing snacks and a smoke with friends. The next day, he returns to Philippe's home to collect the rejection papers. The housekeeper, Yvonne, answers the door, gives him a tour, and explains Philippe's routine. She also shows him the room he would have if he took the job, including a private bathroom. Driss is particularly impressed by the bathtub. He meets with Philippe, who gives him the option of taking the signed form or trying the job for 1 month. Driss agrees to the trial, and Philippe bets he won't last 2 weeks. Driss moves into the house and starts learning how to care for Philippe. His tasks include leg stimulation, helping him into his wheelchair, and assisting with bathing and dressing. He is initially uncomfortable with certain duties, like putting on compression stockings or cleaning Philippe after using the toilet, but eventually accepts them as part of the role. That evening, while Driss is relaxing on the roof with a snack, Philippe's daughter Elisa and her boyfriend Bastien interrupt him looking for privacy. Driss kicks them out after refusing to share his beer. Driss gradually adjusts to the job, making early mistakes such as handing Philippe the phone instead of holding it to his ear and forgetting the baby monitor during a bath. He also learns how to organize Philippe's mail into separate folders, opening most of them, but avoiding a specific set of private letters he's told not to read. Driss finds a flyer for female escorts and starts a separate folder to save them, instead of discarding them, as Philippe prefers. Outside of work, he still prioritizes having fun. He continues trying to flirt with Magali, without success, and occasionally hires escorts. One morning, Yvonne enters his room to scold him for being late and notices weapons in his bag, but doesn't mention them. That day, Driss is tasked with driving Philippe. Refusing to use the van meant for transporting him like cargo, Driss opts for one of Philippe's luxury cars. Philippe is initially hesitant, insisting on practicality, but quickly enjoys the faster, more engaging ride. Yvonne, however, disapproves. When they try to exit the property, a neighbor's car is blocking the driveway despite a clear no parking sign. Driss confronts the man, grabs him by the shirt, and forces him to move the vehicle. Philippe is impressed, while Yvonne remains critical. They visit a museum where Philippe is considering buying a painting. Driss dismisses it as overpriced, seeing it as just a red blotch. Later, Philippe meets with a relative who expresses concern about Driss, mentioning his criminal record and tendency toward violence. Philippe isn't bothered. He values Driss for treating him normally and for not showing pity. Driss makes another failed attempt to impress Magali, then has dinner with Yvonne in the kitchen. Meanwhile, Philippe dictates a letter. Yvonne turns off the baby monitor, saying the conversation is private, and explains to Driss that Philippe has been corresponding with a woman named Eleanor. The unopened letters were part of that ongoing exchange, which has remained purely written. Philippe and Eleanor have never met in person. Before heading to bed, Driss jokes with Yvonne about the gardener constantly looking at her. While trying to sleep, he hears unusual noises from the baby monitor and checks on Philippe, who is struggling to breathe. Driss helps him calm down with a wet cloth and steady instructions until the episode passes. Moments later, Philippe wakes again and says he needs fresh air. Driss doesn't hesitate this time. He transfers Philippe to the wheelchair, bundles him in blankets, and takes him out for a nighttime walk along the river. It's Philippe's first time seeing Paris at night in a while. He explains that medication doesn't always help, and he suffers from phantom pain. He also shares that although he's paralyzed, he can still experience physical pleasure through sensitive areas, like his ears. As the pain returns, Driss offers Philippe a joint. Though hesitant at first, Philippe tries it and enjoys the relief. They continue the night at a restaurant, sharing a meal and joking around. Philippe opens up about his past. He met his wife in school, and after several miscarriages, she was diagnosed with a terminal illness. They adopted Elisa soon after. Philippe talks about his love for competition in extreme sports. He was paragliding when he crashed in bad weather and broke his vertebrae. Still, he says the bigger loss was living without his wife. As the night ends, he realizes Driss has completed his 1-month trial and is now officially hired. But he tells Driss to return the Fabergé egg he stole. It was a gift from his wife. She gave him one each year, and he has 25, one for every year they spent together. The next day, Driss meets Mina outside her school. She's upset he only contacts her about the egg and says police have been calling. Driss then visits Adama, who admits he was caught with 30 grams of drugs. Driss tries to take Adama to lunch, but Adama refuses and leaves in the same suspicious car as before. Later, Driss sits in while Philippe dictates a letter to Eleanor. Driss finds the overly poetic tone unnecessary and is surprised they've been writing for 6 months without exchanging photos. When he finds Eleanor's phone number on a letter, he calls her, forcing Philippe to speak with her directly. The phone call goes well, and Philippe starts calling her regularly, even before attending the opera with Driss, who mocks the performance and costumes. The following day, Driss encourages Philippe to send Eleanor a photo and selects one that shows him in his wheelchair. While Philippe paints, Elisa interrupts to ask for cigarettes and teases him about his new hobby. Driss gets annoyed and sends her away, then walks in on Philippe and Yvonne choosing a new photo, one taken before his paralysis. Yvonne hides the picture inside the escort file just before Driss enters, frustrated about Elisa's behavior. He suggests Philippe discipline her, and Yvonne agrees. Philippe is more surprised that Driss is painting. Their friendship continues to grow. Driss takes Philippe running and sledding, and Philippe buys Driss his first tailored suit. Philippe also speaks to Elisa privately, while Driss listens through the baby monitor. When Driss finishes his first painting, he shows it to Magali. She slaps him when he tries to kiss her. Philippe, on the other hand, likes the painting and offers to help sell it. They bond over shared activities, including smoking joints, driving faster cars, and even hiring escorts. When Philippe's birthday arrives, he expects the usual, pretending to be surprised, attending a formal party, and dealing with relatives who only show up once a year. While guests enjoy classical music, Driss finds Elisa upset in her room after taking some of Yvonne's pills, which turn out to be non-lethal. Bastien has broken up with her and insulted her, so she asks Driss to confront him. Driss agrees, for a price. Philippe shows Driss's painting to a relative and convinces him to buy it for 11,000 euros. Back at the party, Driss chats with Yvonne, who mentions that Magali is dating someone named Fred, though the relationship is unstable, giving Driss reason to stay hopeful. As the celebration winds down, Philippe plays classical music for Driss, who doesn't take it seriously. When the live band finishes, Driss takes over with his iPod and plays Boogie Wonderland by Earth, Wind & Fire. He dances in the center of the floor, drawing others to join in. Philippe watches, entertained. Later, Driss puts Philippe to bed and reads Eleanor's latest letter. She includes a photo and says she'll be in Paris next week, suggesting they meet. On the day of the meeting, Yvonne and Driss help Philippe try on several outfits until they find one that works. Yvonne takes Philippe to the restaurant while Driss uses his day off to visit Bastien. Driss pressures him into apologizing to Elisa, bringing her croissants daily and fixing his appearance. Driss also visits his mother's workplace, but watches from a distance without approaching. At the restaurant, Philippe and Yvonne wait over an hour for Eleanor. Philippe eventually gives up, calls Driss, and leaves just as Eleanor arrives outside. That night, Philippe takes Driss on a private flight and gives him the money from the painting sale. The next morning, they arrive in the countryside, and Philippe insists on paragliding. Driss initially resists, but after takeoff, he enjoys it. Back home, Adama is waiting. Driss notices scars on his face and demands an explanation, but Adama refuses to talk. Driss sends him to his room, calls Mina to reassure her, and returns to Philippe's room. Philippe isn't ready to sleep. He shows Driss a painting and asks about his family. Driss is reluctant but eventually opens up. Adama isn't his biological brother, and his real parents are his aunt and uncle, who brought him from Senegal at age 8. His birth name is Bakari Bassari, but he was renamed Idris to avoid confusion at school, and the nickname Driss stuck. Driss explains that his aunt eventually had children of her own after his uncle died, and other men came into her life. Philippe, noting the similarity with Elisa's situation, says Adama also needs structure. He releases Driss from his duties, encouraging him to focus on his family rather than spending his life caring for someone else. The next morning, after Bastien arrives with croissants and a neater appearance, Driss packs up to leave. Magali comes to say goodbye, and when Driss flirts with her again, she introduces him to her partner. Driss drops the act and moves on. On his way out, Driss returns the baby monitor to Yvonne and jokes about her misleading him. In return, she hands him the escort file he once started. Inside it, he finds the photograph he had selected for Philippe. He throws away the file, but keeps the photo. Outside, he finds another car blocking the driveway and tells the driver to move, despite no longer working there. When Adama questions it, Driss says it's a matter of principle. Later, Driss and Adama pick up their mother from the station. Meanwhile, Philippe has dinner with a new caregiver, but finds him dull and leaves without finishing the meal. With Yvonne out on a date with the gardener, there's no one to object. Driss returns to his former routine. He reconnects with friends and warns the men in the suspicious car to stay away from Adama. At a job interview he's underqualified for, he impresses the employer by presenting himself as pragmatic and using the art knowledge he picked up while working for Philippe. He's hired as a driver. Philippe remains unhappy with his new caretaker and becomes irritable. One night, he refuses help with his phantom pain. Yvonne calls Driss, who agrees to return. This leads to the events from the beginning, Driss speeding through the city, then getting a police escort after pretending Philippe needed urgent medical care. After the incident, Driss drives Philippe to the coast. The ocean view helps Philippe relax. Sometime later, Driss trims Philippe's beard and drives him to a restaurant. Driss doesn't stay. Instead, he returns the Fabergé egg and wishes Philippe well. Philippe begins to worry about being alone until he sees his lunch companion, Eleanor, who is happy to see him and unbothered by his condition. In real life, Count Philippe Pozzo di Borgo now lives in Morocco. He remarried and has 2 daughters. Abdel Sellou, the real Driss, runs his own business, is married, and has 3 children. They remain close friends.